Thank you very much. My able audience, I'm happy to be here. Unfortunately, I can't make it to Nairobi. I have another flight to catch it later in the day. I'll just, make the best of the time that we have together. Thank you very much for the introduction, and it's good to see you again, my great MC. My name is Lanre Bamisebi, as was rightly said. Karibu to every one of you. I just wanted to take us through a very important technology that is evolving, which is called AI, artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is not new. It started a very long time ago. In fact, actually, the old evolution started in the 60s. But as we go on, it's now evolving, and it's been led by a couple of companies, Apple, Google, and the like of them. So what is generative AI? Artificial intelligence has been around for a very long time. We started with the subject of machine learning. This is using technology to munch loads of data and be able to generate quality information from that data. But this has now evolved to AI. And what AI is, someone asked me a while ago, what is the difference between using Google and using generative AI? The truth of the matter is there's a lot of, similarity between the two of them. But while Google is a little bit maybe monolithic, AI, does a lot more and put a lot more together. So in talking about AI, there are so many things that you can use artificial for AI for. Today, we talk about using AI to do a lot of things and make your work a lot more productive. But before I go into that, I also want to tell you some of the risk that you have in generative AI. So if you were to say because basically what generative AI does is I collect data from different areas and put it together to answer your question. Now, if you were to put on AI right now, who is Ari? Who is one of the co-founder of CIO? Generative AI is going to go around and look for different people who have defined Ari. Now, if somebody has defined Ari as a politician who did an espionage and all that and put it on the web, AI might give you one of that as a paragraph of who Ari is. And that will not be a correct statement about Ari. So in using AI, we need to be very careful that, we understand the data. There was a case study of a company that decided to use generative AI for its staff. And sometimes somebody, put on generative AI, is my organization a good organization? Apparently, somebody has written something about the company a very long time ago that wasn't so good. And then AI just picked that and a couple of other things and came out with, yeah, your company is good in a certain way, but it's also bad because it did this and that and that and that. That's not what you want your customer or your staff to know. So it is important that when you set up an AI, a generative AI for an organization, you set up the framework. How will it be used? What are the things? What are the ethics around it? So, for example, if I'm making this presentation to you now, the topic, I could just put it on generative AI and it's going to give me some topics. It's going to give me some response. Now, it is my responsibility, ethically to tell you, well, some of this I got from AI, some of these are my own thinking. Now, some of the problem that AI is going to cause, generative AI is going to cause, is around plagiarism. There are so many AIs now, generative AI, that can tell you it is difficult for even lecturers to determine which is from your head or from your learning, or what is from what you have been able to get on the using generative AI. So it's a very difficult terrain. And unfortunately, this is one of those things that we continue to evolve, because AI is not is here to stay. It's one of those technologies that, from the way it does things, the way it works, it's obvious that it is going to stay, and it's going to change the way we do a lot of things. I said to people, AI is not going to replace people, but managers that can use AI are going to replace those that do not use AI. Another aspect of AI compliance is fostering culture and continuous learning and adaptation. Now, in my organization, what we're trying to do in the next few weeks or months is to make sure that we train everybody on the use of generative AI. It's important that they understand the ethics. It's important that you also have the framework for using AI, so that people don't, misuse it or mismanage it. Also, there are a lot of use cases for AI. We've seen instances where you can have a Teams meeting, and you can have an AI to document the minutes of the meeting. Not only will it document the minutes of the meeting, it will pick out the high point of the meeting. And at the end of the day, it can get you the talking point of that meeting, all summarized. There's also instances where you can have a panel like this, and one of the panelists will actually be an AI. And then he will also give you his opinion based on everybody's suggestion. So there are so many ways you can be productive in an organization. Another use case, which we are also trying in my organization, is to use AI for troubleshooting and IT support. So basically what it does is that all the issues we have a knowledge management solution that tracks all the issues that have been resolved in the bank. So you put all this with AI, and if it is around a particular core banking, you also put the core banking FAQ on the AI, and their resolution issue is the resolution where they have all the resolution for each item on the AI data framework. And your staff can go there and ask anything. I want to change my network. I want to change my password. And the AI will put a fiction of what you've added and what is learned online to make sure it gives the staff or customer the best information. There are a lot of presentations being done around AI. AI is actually, moving forward. The technology is evolving, drastically, with a lot of people, making sure that they are using AI. So it is important that as an organization, when you want to deploy AI, that you do it in a very responsible manner. You ensure that you have your framework, you have your security, your risks being asserted. Also, remember, there's something called data privacy, and you don't want a situation where you have. I think somebody mentioned a case of where a person was not granted the loan, and the reason why the person was not granted the loan was because the generative AI suggested that this person will not pay back the loan. And then by the time, they went and looked at the algorithm, they realized that, the person was actually not profiled very well. So these are some of the things that can happen with generative AI. You also have instances where, a bank which was granting loan discovered after like a year that almost everybody they were giving loan to were a particular sex, right? Because somebody has actually programmed on the AI that, you should do this thing and make sure that this particular sex is not given a loan. So there's a lot of learning around generative AI. And, as we continue to understand it, the more we also begin to grow, to learn from it. Now, when you look at the competitive landscape, there are a couple of companies that are doing AI. OpenAI is one of them. I'm sure we all know about that. There's BAT, there's Lambda, there's Blink, there's Meta, there's AI Bald. So there's a lot of companies using generative AI. Now, the other thing is, one of the pioneer of generative AI is Google. and they've been doing a lot of work. They introduced Gemini, which is the Google AI solution. There is OpenAI, and if I look at the history, the first one that came was in 2028, which was the Transformer. Then 2018, we had GPT-1. 2022 saw the introduction of GPT-3. And then by 2023, we had GTP-3. And of course, 2023 also came with GTP-4. So all these are different versions of generative AI. And, they all do different things and they achieve different things. And there are so many companies that are using it to do a lot of things. For example, Tencent in China is doing a lot around AI, and also banks as well. Like I mentioned, Access Corporation, we are doing a lot around AI. We just came up with our own AI framework, working with a few partners, and then also training all our staff around using Copilot and other generative AI. Now, don't be deceived. Generative AI makes mistakes, right? If you, like I mentioned earlier, if you ask generative AI about, let's say for yourself, you're on the internet and you have a lot of information, it's going to just pick information from different people and put it together and come up with your. So, for example, if you go to your LinkedIn today, and then put all the information on your LinkedIn, on your CV and all that, you pack them together and tell generative AI to give you a professional profile. It's going to make that profile based on the information that you provide. Now, if any of that information is incorrect, say, for example, you didn't go to USIU, for example, and you claim to go to USIU, ChatGPT will still pack it there as if you went there without knowing that you did not go. So those are the things that we need to be careful when we use generative AI. It also work on what we call vectors at scale. It can do a lot of work at the same time. So that's why it's important that we use generative AI respectively. What do I mean by respectively? We are all looking at, we are all counting our CSR, making sure that we don't pollute the environment. Instead of taking a diesel car, you try to take a car that is CSG. Instead of using light that is from maybe coal, we are trying to use solar light to preserve the environment. Also remember that anytime you ask a question of generative AI, there's also an impact on the environment because you're consuming power, you're using huge amount of data power to churn out all those things. Now, let me quickly go through before I round up. How does generative AI work? How does it work really? It works by a prompt is sampled from the prompt database, and then it goes to the labeler, and of course, data are being mapped together. So basically, when you ask a question, how do I become a better speaker? You ask generative AI. What it's going to do is going to take that question and it's going to prompt it into different databases, different search engines. For example, if you're using a Google AI, it's going to look at all those things, then come up with a summary of how it best describe your response. Like I mentioned earlier, it made mistakes. So you can't put everything that AI tells you verbatim. It is important that you review it, but it also helps you to be more productive. So the areas in technology where AI can be easily leveraged. Number one, application development. So you want to develop an application, rather than start the code from the beginning, you can start it with AI. And I now know that there are generative AI that they are doing for developers so that it helps them with their initial codes. Then they can start troubleshooting and doing unit testing. The other area that is good for is around, maybe you want to generate a logo. I do that sometimes, AI would help you generate, 4 different types of logo. If I just type on generative AI, get me a logo for a sustainable company based out of Nigeria. and it will be, then you specify the color. Now, the use of AI is also very important. 10 people can use generative AI and get 10 different results. So it's also important that you know how to use it and you know how to interact with generative AI. So that is about it on my speech for today. I want to thank you very much for your time. And I also want to implore you that you should engage the use of generative AI, but please do it responsibly and also make sure you continue to learn around it and see how you can get business cases for your different organizations. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your morning and conference. If there are questions, moderator.
Thank you, Lanre. We just want to check on the floor. We can allocate a question for Lanre. If you have a burning question, you can be able to raise up your hand wherever you are. We'll bring the mic to you. Any questions on the floor? Going once. That means that Lanre's presentation was quite exceptional. Thank you, Lanre, for your valuable support and also for your input. Thank you. Let's appreciate Lanre one more time. Glad to have you. Thank you once again.